Hello, my name is Hamida Rebai. I am Microsoft MVP in Developer Technologies and .NET Consultant in CGI. During this session, we will describe the workflow to compile a Docker-based ASP.NET Core web application and to deploy it after to a Kubernetes cluster that is already running on the Azure Container Service. After, we will create CI/CD pipelines using Azure DevOps. The first step here is creating and configuring an AKS cluster after we move to Visual Studio to create a new ASP.NET Core web application and deploy it. Modular applications are packaged in containers that is a simple way to be portable across many environments. To run containers at scale, we need to use Kubernetes for orchestration. So what is Kubernetes? Kubernetes is an open source system used to automate the deployment, scaling, and management of containerized applications. Azure Kubernetes Service simplifies the deployment and operations of Kubernetes and enables the developer to dynamically scale their application infrastructure with confidence and agility. We need to install Docker Community Edition for Windows and Visual Studio to create the project. So we start by configuring Visual Studio tools for Docker with ASP.NET Core. Here we found the shared drives where we can select local drivers. So here we have C and E, that's what we have available. So we click on apply to let Docker running. Docker now is running. After we configure and manage the Kubernetes clusters to start Kubernetes, so we will be able to run any application on Kubernetes. Here, as we can see, Docker and Kubernetes are both running. So during the demo that we will present it after, we will create and deploy a web application in Azure Kubernetes Service. After, we will create CI/CD pipelines using Azure DevOps. So we will start by creating a cluster, AKS. We will deploy the application using Visual Studio 2017. We will create a ASP Core web application. And after, we will try to see some options related to the CI/CD pipelines in Azure DevOps. So let's start our demo. We will start by creating a new research on Microsoft Azure. So we will choose a Kubernetes service. We will try to find this service to be able to create it. After, we will click on create to start our configuration to the cluster. The first step is to define our research group. So we will create a new one. We call it demo Kubernetes. We give a name to our cluster Kubernetes. And I will try to specify the region to be able to get all the nodes that I need in my subscription. So here I will add a name. So we will name it AKS demo. I will use the same name for the DNS group prefix. And here we will find our nodes, so we can choose. To update the number of nodes. Here we find many options that we can select. It's related to what we need in our container. It's for cluster configuration. Next, we will go to the authentication. Here we keep this information. Networking information, I will keep this configuration for now. After, I will go to monitoring. I will add the value just for security. I will add this text. So I will add the key and the value. After I will go, we will select to review. Here we start creating our cluster. We will see all information that we need. So it's loading here. The cluster creation, the validation was passed. Now we are trying to create it to confirm our creation. So here we can find our deployment of our cluster here, Kubernetes cluster, and we will get all what we need to deploy our .NET Core web application. Here, as you can see, we find the name that we defined in our configuration, monitor. Here we find our Kubernetes service that we already created. So we click here, we find it in the dashboard. And here we have the dashboard of Kubernetes that we will use it to configure our service. So let's go to the AKS demo and we click here. If we don't have the CLI Kubernetes, we can install it. And here we will get the credential to our cluster. So we start by, as you can see here, we can verify if we have the Azure CLI or not. As you can see, we don't have. So we will install it. Here we have found the link where we can find the install link. So we are now installing the CLI for Azure. To use it for Kubernetes, command line, and we will open PowerShell. Here we will type, so we will try to type the first one for authentication, AZ login. We get the page for authentication. After, we will start what we have in here. We will install Kubernetes. After, we will try to get the credential for our cluster. We'll copy the second instruction defined in the dashboard of Kubernetes. Okay, we copy here. It's still running. As you can see here, we try to get our credentials. Takes few time sometimes. So after, we will open the Kubernetes dashboard by running the following commands. Here, as you can see, we find in the Docker Windows, install Windows, we find our application that we already created on Azure. Now we try to open our dashboard. So Let's start. And we will get the dashboard. Here we will find the pool, nothing like for now, because we are still running. Now we get our nodes. We have 3 nodes. It's what we defined when we created our service. So we find them here. The check. We click on scale to check or to update our nodes. Here we have 3 nodes. And we can check that using command line in this way. As you can see, we have 3 nodes. Now we'll go to create our ASP core web application. So we will open new project. We choose cloud. We choose container application for Kubernetes. We give a name to our application. We'll create a web application, whatever. Here it's not important. We can create many types, as you can see, Angular, React.js. It's simple web application for us, just to display how we can deploy it. Here, we will try to deploy our application from Visual Studio. Okay, let's go now to move to deploy. If we click to publish, we will find many options. Here we go to container registry. For example, if we didn't create our service in Azure, we can do it from Visual Studio. Here we can here create a new resource group. So I will use the same one just for demo, but we can create a new one if we don't have a resource group. So I will create a new one in this case, just to show you that we are able to do it from here too, not only from Azure dashboard. After we click on publish, and our application will be published. Here, if we already created our Azure service, we will click on start and we try to select existing Azure Container Registry and we will find what we already created. Here we get our resource group. We will select what we have and we click OK and we proceed by publishing. If this is another way, so we can create from Visual Studio or we can select existing one and we try to publish. And our application will be published on Azure. Now, we will go to verify to check in the resource group, our resource group, and we will check if we already created our service by Visual Studio. Here we try to check. Here we found many options. I need to discover all of this. Now we will finish by CI/CD pipeline Azure. So we will do it from Visual Studio 2. So we click on configure continuous delivery here. We try to go to our subscription. I will try to deploy it here on as a repository on Azure DevOps. So it will be easy for me to create a release, to do the build, all what we need. Here I will choose my account, subscription, security stuff here. Okay, I'll try to authenticate here. And after we'll go to Azure DevOps, where we can ensure our continuous delivery. Here we found the file of Docker, as you can see, waiting for to be connected and to go to Azure DevOps. Now we are pushing our branch. It will be easier to compile it after for me, or we can get this. We can push it on GitHub, for example, and we can restore it on Azure DevOps, and we can create what we need as a build, as whatever. Here, I just push it here in the Azure DevOps. It's easy for this demo. Here we create a new pipeline. We'll choose Azure repo git. So we click on continue. We choose Azure Web App for ASP.NET because it is a web application ASP.NET. We define our Azure subscription. It's all what we need. We choose the app service name. So we have to authorize Azure to the subscription. Here it takes few time. After we will define the app service name. Okay, we need to wait. Oh, finally, we try. Here, as you can see, we don't have any application. So we will move to Azure to create it. We don't have any app services. If we don't have one, because we didn't deploy it, for example, we need to create one web app. We give it a name, demo Kubernetes, for example, and we click on create. It's really easy to do it. Okay, I will use the same one. Okay, looking for a new one. We create. Here we are creating. Let's go to the dashboard to verify our Kubernetes service and our app service. Now we go back to Azure to find if we are able to display the app service. I will refresh the page, I think, to be able to get our app service. I can find it, so I will refresh just the page, go to verify if the web app is already created or not, just to be sure here. If we finish it. Okay, it's okay now, it's okay. So I will refresh the page. Okay, I will refresh the page. Okay, so we go here. Again. Click on apply. Here we choose our subscription and we will get our app. We'll find it now. It's loading. Ah, yes, what is it? Demo Kubernetes, the web app. Okay, we'll save now and put it on the queue. We can write any comment here and we save and queue. Okay, now we we'll go to the pipeline. Okay, we click on queue, so it will be queued. We don't have any release, as you can see here, so no release pipeline found. And now we have to add project here. Now let's go to our release. If we want to edit, to update it, we click on edit here. And here we can find our stage. We can add artifact, more stage. Here our phase, we have only one phase. In our case, it's a simple test. We go back to the pipeline. Here, if you want to add more artifacts, as you can see, we can choose from build or Azure repository, whatever, or GitHub. So I will not add it. And we can add more stages here, and we choose deploy to Kubernetes cluster. Click on apply. Here we found the stage. We can give a name to the stage Kubernetes, for example, and we can do the same. Save here, and we can add to the stage new job. Here, as you can see, we can update information related to this stage. We can add more post deployment condition, and our gates here we can enable it, and before in pre-demo condition we can update it by adding for example here after stage our approval gates, deployment settings, pre-demo condition. It's all what we need. Here, as you can see, and we can try to click on the job here. We can add a new phase, for example here, deploy to Kubernetes, for example, if we didn't configure it. Choose the version here, and we can choose our subscription, the research group. Here we need our subscription and to authorize it. After we choose the research group, the Kubernetes cluster, all command line, all Kubernetes cluster configuration that we need to do our continuous delivery. During the session, we have created a new cluster in Azure Kubernetes Service. We used the tools for Docker Visual Studio, so we create the configuration file as a Docker file and published the application directly from Visual Studio to Azure Kubernetes Service cluster. So we try to minimize the command line just to show the tools integrated in Visual Studio and the communication between it and the Azure service. Thank you for being a part of this session. I'm waiting your questions.